The closing of the year, always a good time to take a look back at what has happened in the last 11 and a half months or so. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Anna, keeping you updated as to what's going on where it comes to weather and climate in the viewing area. And this is the What I Want to Know show. Today we're taking a look at the end of the year. You might have seen the information that was just shown on our Christmas special live on air, but we'll take a more detailed look at what went on this year when it comes to all sorts of information in regards to how we did for the entire year and what we may look for in the coming year as well. So stay tuned for more on that. What we saw when it comes to the temperatures for the year, nothing really good, unfortunately. The entire year, every single month, and this is according to the National Weather Service in Morristown, we managed to hit a record high temperature at least once every single month of the year. It was that warm, and unfortunately that's not great news where it comes to a lot of issues, especially where it comes to things like climate. So we could really use some help into and around that particular area, cooling things off. But unfortunately, human-induced climate change continues to go in the complete and total wrong direction. So for right now, we are looking at a very warm year. We'll have to see by the time the year finishes out how we did compared to other years down the line. But otherwise, it was an exceptionally warm year and some very warm minimum temperatures as well. As of the time we record this, by about mid to late December, the brown line shows again where we wound up when it comes to rainfall. The maximum amount again for 2024 is showing again the record high amount that we picked up, and the mean where again we should be for this time of the year. The record low precipitation again was about 30 inches set back last in 1904, and we're just above that for this portion of the year. 13 days to go as of the time we record this, and that means that if we got 1 inch of rainfall from now until New Year's Eve, we would try to break even, and that is as far as we could possibly get. So for right now, the good news is that we did not get as dry as 1904 was, but we desperately needed a lot more rainfall than what we got, winding up approximately 13 inches behind for the entire year. So not great news there. I think it's safe to say that the big weather story of the year was again about how busy it was out there with the hurricane season. And back in May, NOAA and several places like Colorado State, Pitt State managed to come up with the hurricane forecast, and it was expected to be an above normal season, and that is exactly what we wound up with. NOAA showing again we finished within range of the predicted number of storms, a very atypically normal busy season. We had 3 names left on the list: Tony, Valerie, and William. If we would have used those names, we would have gone into the Greek alphabet. If you remember 2005, and that was the benchmark watermark of how we did for busy hurricane seasons. And remember, 2005 included Rita, Wilma, and Katrina. So that was a very incredible year when it came to anything in the way of amount of storms out there. So for right now, all the information that we had again for the 2024 season is the predictions were basically spot on for what we needed to see, and more information about what goes on in hurricane season. And even though it's the end of the year, it's time to start looking ahead toward June 1st of 2025, because we may see another active season coming up. Of the 2024 season, the heaviest and the strongest for this area of the country was, of course, Helene. That became a tropical depression back into and around the area of early to mid-September, from the Caribbean, wandering through the eastern Gulf, right up through the Big Bend area of Florida, came ashore and stayed a Category 2 even as far into southern and central Georgia, Category 2 hurricane. Usually when these systems hit the land surface, they lose 50% of their power. This one kept going, and a good reason for that was it was in a perfect position to draw in moisture and instability from both the Gulf and the Atlantic, kept its structure, kept its energy going, and that wandered its way back past the area up into the Ohio River Valley as a tropical depression. Now, on the way, this system did some extreme damage. Winds, yes, but also, again, inland flooding, mostly along the area of western North Carolina around Asheville. This was the third deadliest hurricane of the modern era behind Maria and Katrina, with a death toll of over 200, according to National Center for Environmental Information data. Half of those deaths nearly were in North Carolina. Early estimates suggest the economic loss of Helene could surpass, and in fact has passed $60 billion. 20 to 30 inches plus of rainfall was recorded and documented with this system because, again, as it drew that moisture from the Caribbean, the Gulf, and the Atlantic and sat over the southeastern United States, the tumblers all fell into place to make this an incredibly moisture-rich storm. That moisture fell into the very high elevation hills and mountain areas of the Appalachians, and as all that rainfall flows down slope, that focuses it all the way down to the collection points of the rivers, the streams, the lakes, the reservoirs, and it couldn't be handled because of all that water. That's just a short list of reasons as to why all of this happened. Now, how much of it, again, did happen to occur that was absolutely huge? In the days leading up to Helene's landfall, this event that came on through produced 10 to 15 inches of rain, started with, again, some very heavy water going downriver and also some saturated ground, which means when the rain hit the ground, it ran off very quickly rather than the ground absolutely being able to absorb it. So for a good portion of western North Carolina, western Virginia, southern West Virginia, back into parts of Tennessee between Bristol, Johnson City, and Morristown, this was a 1 in 1,000 year event, statistically speaking. Now, could this happen again? Yes, given the right set of circumstances, we could absolutely see something like this happen once again. It is possible, and that's something that emergency planners, government officials, all have to take into account to make certain that we are prepared for the next one coming on through. But picking up 12 inches plus on this, and this is stated very bald-faced by NOAA, if the world continues on its way to burn fossil fuels, causing global warming to reach 2 degrees above Celsius, above pre-industrial levels, devastating rainfall events like those experienced with Helene will become another 15 to 25% more likely in the course of the future years to come. We touched on that a little bit with our winter weather forecast, showing how we're getting warmer and warmer winters and more moisture and more unpredictable amounts of the way storms form, the way they move, the moisture they pick up. So the more we continue to abuse our atmosphere by using fossil fuels, the worse the weather could become. And this is just one prime example of what may happen. So this is something to really, really take a look at. All this information available from climate.gov if you'd like to see a lot more as to what goes on here. This is something that really kind of proves the point. The before and after. The line in the middle is a slide bar, which you can take a look at. If we move it all the way to the right, you can see Asheville, North Carolina area before Helene hit. And as we move that slider bar all the way to the left, that's the after picture, to where wind and rain came through, caused flooding, devastation, shutting down roadways. And it's a very good tool to be able to see what could happen and what happens after a situation like Helene, and what may become a lot more in the way of possible in the next dozen years or even longer than that, again, because of climate change. This was an incredibly devastating event, and it's quite possible that we're going to be seeing even more potential of this happening at other cities around the United States that are susceptible to hurricanes and also sea level rise and also to catastrophic rainfall events. Just because it was a 1 in 1,000 year event this year does not mean that it cannot happen next year. So this is a very incredible thing to really take a look at. If you'd like more information, you can have details available on our website at WDEF.com/weather. We'll be posting this video and all sorts of others to, again, our video section on there, which you can catch. We mentioned beforehand a little bit more information about the winter weather forecast, and the What I Want to Know show covered what I think as chief meteorologist, showing the potential of our winter weather scenarios out there, which, again, with warming temperatures around the globe, winter type situations are going to get fewer and far between. Less cold, less snow, less ice during the winter. And for those of you who are saying, oh, well, that's a good thing, well, not necessarily. There's a lot of reasons why we need winter to kind of balance things out when it comes to insect population, when it comes to the atmosphere and the earth being able to recycle and reset itself. There's a lot of reasons why less snow, less winter is a bad thing. If you'd like to check out the What I Want to Know show, all you have to do is head to our pages for more. And again, also here available at WDEF.com/weather. We'll have more on the forecast, of course, and more on climate change and what we can do to prevent it, to keep our home in space. And we'll also talk about a lot of other neat and interesting things into 2025. So please stay tuned to News 12 and more on the What I Want to Know show as we head into the beginning portion of next year. Thanks for joining us for the What I Want to Know show as we close out 2024. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Onick. Contact me at the website or the email address below. And of course, we'll have more with News 12 as we go into the next several days and weeks and months. So stay tuned for more with News 12 on air and online.